Captain Marcus Hale never expected his day to change the future of two civilizations. He stood inside the shining crystal hall of the Thalrune Imperial Palace, surrounded by alien nobles who watched him with cold eyes. Marcus had been inside many starship councils and diplomatic halls in his career, but nothing carried the same weight as this place. The Thalrune Empire was one of the oldest and strongest powers in the galaxy, and humans were new compared to them. Most species still looked at humans as young, emotional, and far too confident. Marcus knew this meeting was supposed to be normal: exchange of technology, trade rights, patrol agreements, nothing more. But the moment the Empress of the Thalrune entered the hall, the atmosphere shifted. She was enormous, almost twice the height of a human, with armor-like silver skin and long emerald eyes that seemed to see everything. Everyone in the room lowered their heads except Marcus, who stood straight, respecting their culture but refusing to show fear. He was a representative of Earth, and he wanted them to see humanity as strong, not weak. The Empress did not waste time with greetings. Her voice carried through the chamber in a deep echo. She looked directly at Marcus and said something he had never imagined hearing from the most powerful ruler in this region of space. "Human, my daughter needs you." For a moment, Marcus thought he had misheard. The Thalrune did not ask for help. They were proud, feared, and infamous for solving everything on their own. Yet the Empress continued, her expression carrying something he had never seen on the face of a ruler with absolute power: desperation. Marcus slowly answered, keeping his voice calm and respectful. "Your Majesty, I do not understand. How can a human be of service to your daughter?" The room went tense. No one else dared to speak. The Empress lifted one clawed hand, and a large projection appeared above the floor. It showed a young female Thalrune lying inside a medical chamber. Her skin was pale gray instead of silver, her body weak, eyes closed. Even for an alien race, illness was something that showed clearly. "That is Princess Valera," the Empress said quietly. "She is dying." Marcus remained silent, waiting for the explanation. "Our doctors and scientists have tried everything. The illness is something we have never seen. It resists all treatments. It spreads in ways we cannot analyze. It weakens her neural systems and her blood matrix. At this rate, she will not survive another cycle." Marcus could sense the anger and sorrow the Empress tried to hide. Even the nobles looked uncomfortable. For them, weakness of any kind was a shame. And yet the ruler was openly admitting something that made their empire look helpless. Marcus finally spoke in a steady tone. "I am sorry, truly, but why call for me? I am an explorer and diplomat, not a medical specialist." The Empress turned her gaze toward him. "We analyzed every option. We studied countless foreign medical systems. Out of all data scanned, only one type of historical human medicine showed possible similarity to this condition. Something your world overcame 500 years ago." Marcus felt his heart jump. 500 years ago, humans lived during a time when diseases were unpredictable, constantly mutating, and difficult to control. Earth medical science was forced to become flexible, adaptable, and creative. Even today, humans in space missions still trained to deal with sudden biological problems without complete data. This was something humans had become known for, solving the impossible through stubborn effort. Before Marcus could respond, the Empress made the room shake with her next words. "And when we studied human history, we realized something else. Humans do not accept defeat." The nobles looked uneasy, as if admitting this was giving humanity more credit than they deserved. But the Empress continued without hesitation. Marcus felt a strange mix of pressure and pride. It was rare to hear ancient and powerful civilizations speak positively of humanity. The Empress gestured to the guards. "Escort him to the medical wing. He may examine the princess." Marcus nodded. He followed tall, armored guards through long corridors that glowed with blue energy. Everything looked ancient, yet advanced, like a civilization that grew in science without ever letting go of tradition. Along the way, several alien scientists stared at him with doubt, as if a human stepping into their medical territory was an insult. When Marcus reached the medical wing, he found the princess lying inside a transparent chamber. Machines scanned her body while alien symbols floated in the air. A team of doctors watched silently. Marcus stepped closer and began reviewing the data. The sickness attacked multiple biological systems at once. It was almost like a viral neurological hybrid, but something about it looked familiar. Marcus frowned and nodded slowly. It resembled a disease that once spread on Earth centuries ago, something that humanity defeated only because their doctors refused to give up after countless failures. Marcus turned to the alien scientists. "How long has she been ill?" "7 cycles," they answered in low voices. "Every attempt we tried only slowed the damage. No cure exists." Marcus could feel the weight of the challenge settling on him. The Empress had not summoned him out of curiosity. This was their last hope. He spent hours reviewing data, scanning records, and analyzing biological breakdowns. The disease was advanced, adaptable, and artificial. It did not look natural. When Marcus cross-checked several molecular reactions, something clicked in his mind. It wasn't just a disease. It was engineered. Someone created it. He looked at the nearest doctor. "Was the princess exposed to anything outside the palace before falling sick?" The scientist hesitated. "Yes. She attended a peace summit with the Mekthar Dominion." Marcus felt a chill. The Mekthar were an aggressive empire, known for fighting the Thal Rune for centuries. For them, biological warfare was not new. If they could cripple the royal line, they could destabilize the entire empire without firing a single shot. Marcus now understood the larger problem. This was not just a medical emergency, it was political sabotage. The fate of millions could change depending on whether the princess lived or died. He looked directly at the royal medical team. "I need a full security lock on everything. No one outside this chamber should know what I find." Some of the doctors looked confused. Others looked afraid. Marcus had faced political threats before. He knew when someone inside the palace could also be involved. Wars this old always had factions, traitors, and ambitious leaders waiting for the right opportunity. The Empress entered quietly. She had been watching from beyond the glass wall, giving Marcus time to analyze on his own. Her voice was softer this time. "Do you understand now why we turned to a human?" Marcus nodded. "You needed someone from outside your political structure. Someone who could see the situation without bias." "Correct," she answered. "Our science is ancient and advanced, but it has stopped evolving. We no longer think outside our own limits. Humans, however, you are reckless at times. But you constantly reinvent solutions. You succeed because you refuse to fail." Marcus took a deep breath. For the first time, he fully realized what responsibility had just been placed on his shoulders. If he succeeded, he would save the princess and possibly bring peace between two powerful civilizations. If he failed, the galaxy could fall into war. He asked for the princess's medical files, treatment history, and early biological samples. The doctors looked uneasy, almost insulted that a human was now leading the investigation, but the Empress's presence forced them to obey. Marcus began working. Hours turned into a long, sleepless night. He analyzed samples using both alien tools and his own portable human medical kit. He ran simulations and compared the results with old Earth medical records stored in his personal datapad. Memories of early human history played in his mind. Doctors working in small hospitals, scientists risking their careers to find cures, people fighting disease without advanced technology but with strong determination. Marcus finally spoke out loud, even though no one asked him a question. If this is engineered, then the cure must be flexible. It needs to adapt faster than the disease itself. The alien scientists stared blankly at him. They were not used to that approach. Their medicine was predictable, based on fixed systems. But humans survived centuries of changing sicknesses. That was their strength. Marcus turned back to the Empress. I believe there is a chance, but it will be hard, risky, and time is running out. The Empress, strong and calm, lowered her head slightly. It was not a bow, but a sign of respect. Human, do what you must. Our future depends on you. Marcus nodded firmly. Then I will do everything in my power. As the lights hummed quietly and machines processed data, Marcus Hale found himself in the center of a situation bigger than anything he had faced. He had come as a diplomat, but now he was the last hope for a dying princess, an ancient empire, and a fragile balance of peace in the galaxy. And deep in his heart he knew one truth. Humanity was at its best when the impossible stood in front of them. Marcus Hale worked without rest. The medical chamber was filled with the soft sounds of scanners and quiet mechanical hums. The lights reflected off the walls like faint blue stars. Alien scientists watched him with mixed expressions: doubt, irritation, fear, and a small spark of hope none of them wanted to admit openly. The Thalrune Empire had never needed help from outsiders, but everything had changed the moment Princess Vylira began dying. Now even the brightest minds of their ancient civilization were forced to rely on a human. Marcus studied the biological readouts. The disease was unlike anything modern medicine could easily counter. It changed shape, altered its metabolic pathways, and adapted to every treatment. If a cure targeted one weakness, the sickness simply created another. It behaved almost like a thinking enemy. Marcus suspected it had been designed that way. To defeat it, he needed something just as adaptable. Human medical records held examples of treatments that used flexible responses instead of fixed cures. Hours passed. Marcus prepared a simulated treatment pattern based on old Earth adaptive therapies. It used controlled biological responses, forcing the disease into predictable reactions before delivering the final strike. It would require constant monitoring, quick adjustments, and high risk. Even if it worked, anything could go wrong. Most alien medical teams would never try something like this. To them, the idea looked reckless. But humans had been desperate once in their early history, and desperation had created bold solutions. Marcus explained the plan to the team. Some scientists stared at him as though he was insane. One of them finally spoke. This method is unstable. If a single step fails, the princess will decline faster. Marcus nodded. Yes, but doing nothing means she dies anyway. At least this gives us a fighting chance. The room fell silent. No one argued again. With the Empress's permission, Marcus prepared the treatment procedure. The princess's chamber filled with medical drones and diagnostic panels. Although she remained unconscious, her breathing was shallow, and her silver skin had dulled to gray. Marcus glanced at her and felt the responsibility settle on him like a weight. He was not only fighting for her life, he was fighting for the future of thousands of worlds. Halfway through the preparation, the lights flickered. One of the machines let out a sharp warning alarm. The data projected in front of Marcus suddenly vanished, and error codes spread across the display. Someone had deleted the operating files. Marcus reacted instantly and pulled his portable storage out of his uniform, reloading the files manually. The alien scientists looked disturbed and confused. Marcus did not bother hiding his suspicion. Someone inside this palace does not want her cured. The Empress, who had entered silently, spoke in a low voice. I know. There are factions who believe Vylira's death would be a chance for a new war. They have waited generations for revenge. Marcus was not surprised. In politics, ambition often spoke louder than mercy. The Empress signaled 2 guards. They left immediately, likely searching for the traitor. Marcus did not slow down. Once the files were recovered, the treatment resumed. The first stage began. Marcus adjusted the princess's immune responses with precisely calibrated pulses. The disease reacted, shifting its growth pattern. Marcus updated the system. Alarms beeped again. Another shift. The alien scientist nearest to him watched in awe. "It is changing faster than predicted." Marcus did not look up. His fingers moved across controls. "Good. That means the disease is responding. Now we corner it." Hours passed in tense silence. The treatment continued. Marcus made changes without hesitation, adapting to every shift. Sweat formed on his forehead and his eyes grew tired, but he did not stop. Slowly, the disease began losing adaptability. The princess's vital signs stabilized slightly. Not a cure yet, but a sign that the plan could work. Then disaster struck. A sharp explosion echoed through the corridor outside. The walls trembled and dust fell from the ceiling. Guards drew weapons. Marcus looked up sharply. He knew this was not an accident. Someone was trying to destroy the medical wing. If they could not sabotage the treatment quietly, they would do it openly. A guard entered quickly. "Enemy forces are breaching the palace. They are using infiltration technology. We believe this was planned ahead." Marcus spoke without hesitation. "Then we have one choice. We finish before they reach us." The guards locked down the chamber. Outside, the sounds of energy weapons echoed faintly. The Empress looked composed, but her eyes burned with fury. She stood beside Marcus, refusing to abandon her daughter. The final stage of the treatment began. Marcus injected the hybrid serum into the princess's bloodstream. It was designed to give her cells the ability to adapt faster than the disease. If everything went right, her body would begin fighting back on its own. The chamber flashed with lights. Alarms sounded. Biological data spiked sharply. The disease responded violently. The princess's heart rate fluctuated. One scientist whispered in fear. "If this fails," Marcus cut her off, "do not think about failure. Think about the next adjustment." He quickly changed the enzyme dosage and pressed through the warning windows. The alarms slowly decreased. The princess's breathing steadied. Her neural scans began showing improvement. Marcus allowed himself one breath of relief. The Empress spoke quietly. "It is working." Marcus nodded but did not stop monitoring. He knew the disease could make one last counterattack. For several minutes, the readings remained stable. The princess's vitals improved a little at a time. Her skin slowly regained a faint silver shine. Marcus felt a surge of hope. Then the final blow came, not from the disease, but from outside. The chamber door shook violently as an explosion hit the other side. Guards braced themselves, weapons drawn. Marcus looked up, shocked. Someone truly wanted the princess dead. The Empress's voice contained nothing but command. "Protect the chamber. No one enters." Outside, the battle intensified. Laser fire echoed through the corridor. Smoke seeped under the door. Marcus forced himself to focus on the treatment. If he turned away now, everything could collapse. Minutes later, the disease finally broke. The treatment adapted faster than it could mutate. The scans confirmed stabilization. Marcus felt an incredible wave of relief. He turned to the Empress. "She's out of danger, but she needs rest. The next few hours are important." Before the Empress could answer, the door burst open. Armored attackers rushed inside. The guards fought back instantly. Marcus stepped in front of the princess instinctively without thinking. He had no weapon, but he was not going to let her die. A powerful energy blast lit the room. When Marcus expected pain, it never came. The Empress had stepped in front of him, shielding them both. With a motion faster than human eyes could follow, she disarmed the attacker and ended the confrontation. The remaining traitors retreated, realizing their plan had failed. Silence filled the room again. Smoke hung in the cold air. The Empress looked at Marcus. For the first time, her expression softened, not as a ruler, but as a mother. "You protected her," she said quietly. Marcus shook his head. "I only did what needed to be done." The Empress rested a clawed hand on the glass chamber where her daughter lay recovering. Guards cleared the bodies and secured the room. Alien scientists resumed checking the princess's condition. After several long minutes, Princess Valira's eyes fluttered open. Her breathing was weak but steady. She looked around slowly, confused but alive. Marcus stepped back to give her space. The Empress spoke, voice trembling for the first time. "My daughter, you have returned." Valira tried to speak, but words did not come. She squeezed her mother's hand instead. That was enough. Soon the imperial throne hall filled with nobles, military officers, and leaders from across the empire. The Empress stood before them, her voice strong. "We owe her life to a human." Many aliens looked shocked. Some struggled to accept it, but no one dared argue. The Empress continued. "Humans are not weak. They do not give up. When our science could not save her, their spirit succeeded. Today, the Thalrune Empire recognizes humanity with respect." Marcus stood at the bottom of the steps, unsure how to respond. He had not saved the princess for glory. He had acted because lives were at stake. That was the core of humanity's strength, helping even when the chances were low. Later, as Marcus prepared to return to his ship, Valira was awake enough to speak. She looked at him with grateful eyes and whispered softly, "Thank you, human." Marcus smiled. "You are welcome. Rest. Your empire needs you." When he finally left the planet, the galaxy viewed humanity differently. Humans were no longer newcomers fighting to be seen. They were innovators, lifesavers, and partners in a universe larger than anyone could imagine. Marcus Hale had proven that humanity's greatest strength was not power or technology, but determination and heart. And somewhere deep in space, new doors were beginning to open, doors that would lead humanity into legends written across the stars.